What this framework allows us to do is have this really explicit focus on developing independent learners. We can think really carefully about shifting the responsibility for learning from the teacher initially through to being the responsibility of the student. And so often within our teaching, we do this in an implicit way. But what the 7-step model allows us to do is have a structure so we can do this really deliberately. What we know is that actually young people need to be explicitly taught how to be independent, and also the impact of doing this really deliberately is going to be greatest for our disadvantaged pupils. And that's something that the metacognition guidance report unpicks, that idea that our disadvantaged children are less likely to have had some of this explicit teaching around how to be an effective learner, and they're really going to benefit from us going through. And what I really like to do when I use the 7-step model with my students is to explicitly narrate to them which of the steps I'm doing and also the value of each of the steps. So in my teaching, I do use the 7 steps, but I really focus particularly on 2 of them, and that's modelling and guided practice. And I think modelling is a really interesting one. What I try to do within this phase is to think really carefully about modelling the task to young people. But what I also try and explicitly model is focus on myself as a metacognitive learner. So actually how I manage myself as a learner. So I'll model and talk to them about how I know that sometimes, because I'm not a biologist, I'm a psychologist, I might get a bit nervous when I see some of these words that are used. So what I'll do is I'll remember, I can go back in my book to find my terminology sheet to remind myself of those terms, using those strategies that I'm explicitly teaching them. The modelling aspect is not just modelling the task, but it's also modelling their metacognition as well. And then the other section of it that I really like to spend some time developing is the section of guided practice, because the evidence suggests there that those teachers who are most effective use more guided practice. And what I try to do is think about different formats that the guided practice can be done in, and also to ensure that I'm using assessment all the time to establish what step they're at and whether they're ready to move on or whether they require some extra opportunities for guided practice. So in terms of the 7-step model, the key takeaways and final thoughts from me are that the 7-step model is about taking that time to reflect and recognise what it is you're already doing. And actually, so much of these, you'll think, oh yes, I do that within my practice, but maybe I can tweak things and do a bit more of this aspect, which is very much where I've been at, as I've said, around the modelling. I'm already modelling the task, but I'm going to now be more deliberate about modelling myself as a metacognitive learner. So as I say, it's just about those small tweaks to practice to make the implicit explicit, which is going to have that greatest benefit for our disadvantaged pupils.